I've just stopped sharing. Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll wait a few minutes before everyone joins.
Hmm.
I'll start at 11:05.
Are we able to record this call as well?
It is already recording.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So you'll see my AI note taker in the participant list,
Oh,
which
right.
is, yeah,
Okay,
that's recording the call as well.
that's great. Thank you.
Yeah. Some of these AI note takers are amazing. They end up like, giving you notes also. You're like, these are the
Yeah.
highlights of the meeting. Sometimes it's so stupid and you're like, that's not what we talked about.
Yeah.
But most times it's useful.
Yeah, actually, I've been testing out different ones. So the previous one we used Fireflies, and now I'm testing out TLDF, mainly because they provide parity purchasing for India. So it's heavily discounted because
Oh,
the currency change and etc. So it's very very cheap. And plus, I actually like their AI notes a little more than the Fireflies AI prompts.
Okay.
So
okay.
I quite liked it, but it's way more limited than Fireflies.
Oh. Interesting. Like I just used it because I was like, I need something for a meeting urgently. So I just like
Yeah.
installed that and then I was like, okay, seems okay.
Yeah, yeah. No, Fireflies is great actually for a business setup. It works really nicely, and I really like. They have a lot of features available for a business setup. Whereas TLDF is very like dev-like, very coder-like, basic, cutthroat kind of thing. But their AI notes were definitely better, so that's why I kind of stuck to that.
Makes sense.
I'm actually just impressed by, I mean, we were talking about how technical do we or do we not keep these discussions on the groups. But I'm actually experimenting or rather noticing more of these pre existing tools that we've been using. So we use Microsoft Teams in my organization at work. And I work with the French organization. So when I joined a year back, it was difficult for me to grab all the accents, and some of
Yeah.
the words have a certain tilt to it, so you don't really capture it. But sometimes the written word is easier to understand. Okay, this must be what they were saying. So I
Hmm.
started using the live transcripts in that context. And
Oh,
what I
nice.
see is that from that 1 year past when I joined the company and now, like the Teams AI transcript is amazing now. I mean, I will not call it AI; it's just live transcript. But the quality of it has become such so good, even for
Yeah.
Indian and French accents, that these days a lot of times when people are in a big monologue, I'm able to just copy and put it into my OneNotes, and
Wow.
mostly it works. So
Wow.
like that's the other extreme, because in a lot of corporate setups you can't use generic tools, or you have sensitive topics that being discussed. So even trying out whatever is in house already provided by the organization could be useful.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think when I started using Fireflies in my company, and I don't work in a tech company, I work in a finance company, everyone was so
Oh,
wowed by it. And every time they spoke to their clients as well, all the clients are like, what is this? Then I actually started helping the client tech teams also understand Fireflies. It just like went into this chain thing when they just couldn't believe something like this existed.
yeah.
Yeah. And also the accessibility implications, like Gunja, you mentioned the language implication. During COVID, we used to play board games with this friend of ours, or like board games online with this friend of ours who can't hear. And so, like in person, it would always be hard for her to properly participate. But like online, because there is live transcript, she could just understand who is saying what. And it was just like, what a delightful experience for her.
Very true,
Yeah.
very true.
It's absolutely amazing. The things it can do. It can even like what I like is it can even attend meetings for you. And I don't know if you any of you are the hype any Harry Potter fans here, but there was that time turner where she could attend multiple classes at the same time. So I feel like I can sign up to all these AI workshops, but I can't attend them because I'm in another meeting. But you'll go and attend for me, and then I'll go through the notes. So,
Okay.
anyways,
That's an interesting way to put it.
it's 11:05, guys. So I am going to start with the housekeeping rules. I will keep this screen open at all times as well, so in case you need to refer to it. So, firstly, as always, please keep yourselves on mute, just so that the speaker doesn't get disturbed. It could be anything like traffic noise, noises, etc. Video is optional, it's not required, but I do want to warn you that this meeting is being recorded, video and all, and it will go up on YouTube afterwards. So if you're uncomfortable being in that space, you can, stop your videos. As a request, please don't ask questions till the end. We will have a 15-minute Q&A session. So again, apologies to speaker. At the 45-minute mark, me or one of the moderators, which is Guncha and Karishma, you can see them in the participant list, they will ask the speaker to stop and take a Q&A. So in case anyone needs to drop out at 12 o'clock, they can. And if Divya is free, the speaker after that, we can continue having a discussion. But yeah, so please don't ask questions. You can put them in the chat. We'll keep note of them, but ideally keep it till the end. And at that point, Divya has requested that you raise your hand and she will pick the person from the audience to answer the questions. Now, what we like doing in all our calls, if you have attended them before in our workshops, we please use the emojis at the bottom of your screen. If you like something, if you disagree to something, if you love something, like use all of them. Make it interesting. It's also very encouraging for the speaker to know they're on the right track and everything. People are understanding what she's talking about. So common FAQ, which I generally get, yes, it's being recorded. It will be available afterwards. And if you are in the AIEC group, you will also get the transcription and AI meeting notes. For everyone else, it will be the YouTube link. I will share the presentation or whatever notes Divya sends to me after this call. So keep an eye on your email accounts. It will come from either Luma or me, Neha M. A lot of you who are not part of AIEC, which is AI Enthusiast Circle, you are welcome to join. I think a lot of you in the subscription form did say that you're willing to join. I did send out an email a couple of days ago for you guys to join with a link. I'll also put up a link on our chat here where you can sort of register, etc. So, or just contact me anytime, and I will help you out. Okay, so what is AIEC? Sorry if it's going to be a little repetitive for you guys who are already part of the group, but we are a community of women who have kind of come together to learn more about AI. It's a knowledge exchange. You do not need to be from a technical background to be a part of this group. But we also obviously want technical people. So we have the sort of the synergy between the information and the lack of information. And the idea is to provide like this comfortable space for women to be able to talk about AI and learn more about it. We share a lot of tools. We have a lot of resources on our system. And now actually we celebrated our 1-year anniversary yesterday. And we started with one group on WhatsApp, and now we're 8 groups with multiple different channels like Marketing Hub, UX Lounge, Tech Syndicate. We even started a book club a couple of months ago, which is actually doing really well. And I'm quite excited about that. And next month's book club is also coming up on 19 September in case anyone's interested in joining. So that's kind of what it is for AIEC. Now we come to the fun part. Oh, by the way, I'm Neha. Sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Neha. I manage the community, and so yeah, a lot of you already have spoken to me before. So I always forget to introduce myself. Okay, so I met Divya in another, AI community. And I was looking for Midjourney speakers because over the months, I've had so many requests for people to learn Midjourney. And to be honest, online, it's so hard to get like a good free tutorial. Everything is paid for. And when I say paid for, it's not like cheap paid for, because these are all tutorials in the US and things like that. So I wanted someone to be able to help me have like a workshop just for, the women members, etc. And Divya was so nice to volunteer. So thank you, Divya, for that. And her story, when I first spoke to her, her story was just so exciting because I feel like her and her whole family are these cool AI tech people, from her sister to her brother, and they all work together. And I found it like the coolest thing ever, to have like this whole, siblings and sort of collection of people who can do all these things. And they each have like these complementary skills. So Divya's focused a lot in design, and she even works as a VFX producer, which I think is like the perfect person to be able to give this kind of talk. I've obviously put up her details here on the thing. I'll just go through it quickly. So she graduated with physics from IIT Kharagpur, and then through she went into more into the design side with self learning, etc. Started freelancing, working on various projects. She's even done these cool workshops on comic designing and all, which I want to try and get her to do for us because it sounded so cool. And a lot of them using AI as well. And being a person, personally, I love comics and video games. So this was, I was quite excited, about this, how this workshop is going to go. And now she works at Joyous, and yeah, I mean, it's she's doing some amazing stuff with Midjourney and design, and I think she'll be like the perfect person to sort of guide us through this through text to image prompting. I should say that rather than Midjourney. So I'm gonna hand it over to her. If you want to add something, Divya, to your introduction, please feel free. I just don't want to take up your time since it's 11:11, so I'm gonna hand it over to you.
Thanks, Neha. I mean, that was better introduction than I could have. So I think that I should like invite you every time whenever I'm supposed to be introduced, and then you can do it, and then I can be like, yeah, okay, cool, thanks. Okay, so hello everyone. I'll just share my screen and let's get started. There is like a lot that we'll get through. Um, okay. Ishak, I should be able to see it. Okay. Um, Okay, so this is just like a very brief how we are gonna do it. So I'm gonna do two different sets of live demo. One, the simple one, and then one which is like more advanced once we have seen all of the prompting tips and tricks. And I have also a lot of the prompts I have already pre-generated so that we don't have to wait around for them. And you can see what the changes in the output would be from those changes, like from those prompt changes. Okay, let's get started. So the goals of this workshop are we're going to get a basic understanding of prompting. Some of it is like Midjourney specific, and some of it is going to be applicable to all visual AI tools. Visual AI tools tend to be slightly less conversational apart from one which is DALI. So their prompting techniques tend to be slightly different from whatever you guys might be using for Chat GPT or whatever. I'm assuming everybody has tried some AI tool. Is there anybody who hasn't? Okay, loads of thumbs up. So I'm assuming yes. And like I'll be working with the web interface of Midjourney. Midjourney recently has, in the last few months, they have released a really good web interface. The UX is much better than Discord. Earlier, Midjourney used to be only on Discord. Awesome. Okay, so what is a text to image generator? It's like you write a text in it and it creates an image. The text is called a prompt. Very simple. So like, on the left hand side there is a pretty beach, on the right hand side there is an ocean underneath, and like these are the generations that Midjourney did for those. These are actually quite old ones. I think these are version 5 or something. um, these are the three popular models currently. So DALI is with ChatGPT. If you go in ChatGPT, not the free version, the paid version, that is what like OpenAI uses to generate images. It's much more conversational, so you can tell it, oh, I want this or I don't want this, blah blah blah. You don't have to really structure your prompt in any specific way. The downside is it's not free, and the output is also less controllable, is how I would put it. Like it doesn't have as much of a style adherence in my experience. um, you have stable diffusion, which I would say it's growing really really fast. And it's an open source thing. You can run it on your system, and you can run it on, like, there are some software, like some products online like Leonardo and Leonardo.ai. There are other, I know that like one of my friends, Dashtune, they also use Stable Diffusion as a backend. So like Stable Diffusion is the foundation model, and it's open source. One of the downsides of trying to run Stable Diffusion on your own machine is that the barrier to entry is slightly higher. You have to learn how to host it, you have to have a good machine. There are online places as well, but like it is slightly technically cumbersome to just get it started. But they are growing really really fast. They have like a lot of different things. Recently the old Stable Diffusion team released a new model called Flux. It's not in the deck because it was just like last week's news, but Flux is really good. Apparently Flux is like some 6x more complex than the best other model that we have, which is like quite insane. So yeah, that is about the other things. And Midjourney, Midjourney initially became popular early last year because it was the first one that gave consistently pretty output. And when we are looking at visual images, it's important for most novice people to be able to generate good output, to be able to see, okay, this, I told it to make this, and whatever it made, it was good looking. So I would say that, like, that's where Midjourney's popularity came in. But then they have kept sort of adding features, releasing new models, making things better throughout, and they have honestly like kept a pace with the other tools that are coming up. um, and if so, these are all text to image models, right? Like you give it a text and you make image. If any of you are like more interested in like exploring other, like, advanced things, so there are also three text to video generators called Runway, Pika Art, and Dream Machine by this team called Luma. um, they all do different things. So Runway is useful if you are sort of like somebody who's working in the VFX or CG industry. They have like a lot of tools which are specific to those kind of things. So like, you can do replacement of background, and like, you can do rotoscoping and stuff like that. Pika Art is really good if you wanna like, give it a still image and make it into something really nice. Their output tends to be good. um, Dream Machine is a much newer model than both of these, although Runway recently released a new gen model. I haven't tried that one yet. um, but yeah, like the talk is not going to be about these, but I still wanted to mention these three tools because it's like, at least I found it interesting to sort of go into video once I started generating with once I started generating images. I've also I have tried to run Stable Diffusion on my machine and generate video via that, but that is like slightly more complex. Like running Stable Diffusion is complex. This would be slightly more complex. But yeah, there are many paths to sort of, nowadays basically there are many paths if you have an idea to convert it into something visual. Like you don't need to know, like, animation software and all of that to generate your own sort of like, give voice to your story. Many people use Midjourney to generate the images, the stills, and then go into any of these three tools and like, generate small video clips, and then like, they can stitch um, a short story out of it and stuff. It's quite interesting. Okay, so there are certain things that AI tools are able to do, and there are certain things that they are not. So, like, what can Midjourney do? um, One is like, again, since the beginning, high quality output. Like you will see even here, if you see, like there is no refinement done on these images. These are just like, this was prompt to image generation. And like these are really really beautiful images. The lighting is good, the colors are great. There isn't too much deformation. I mean, if you see, yeah, this kid only has one leg, that doesn't seem right, but like this kid's hand is going behind his like body. But like these are not things that you would normally notice too much, and the output tends to be pretty nice. This is a shot from the Midjourney web page explore screen, and you can see how many different styles are there. So like Midjourney can actually generate like a lot of different kinds of images, and that sort of gives you a good idea of like, oh, if I wanted to make like a mood board, do some concept artwork, like this is actually a very good place to do it. Even just like going through the explore page and like what other people have made, I'll give, like, other resources later. But like, for example, there is this website called civit.ai, civit.ai. And there you can find like a lot of resources, a lot of like, oh, this is something somebody has made. You click on that, you will see the prompt that they have used. You can use that prompt in the tool and like see what that generates for you. Even here, you can click on each individual image, see how the person made this particular image. And it's a very good way to sort of just like, I would encourage anybody who wants to get good at Midjourney to just like go explore within like their own explore page and see what is working, like how are people making these amazing images, because it gives you like an idea of, okay, how do I learn myself, and just like play around a bunch. Uh, don't expect yourself to create great output from the get go, but like just sort of experiment and you'll get to a great output pretty quickly. um and what can't Midjourney do? So like these are the things that it can do, right? Like beautiful images, lots of styles. It can't really write predictably. So if you see, the prompt here was a whiteboard with welcome team to the meeting written on it. And yeah, here it is, welcome team to the meeting. And then it's like, okay, what happened to the I don't know what this text is. And then it's like, welcome team, welcome to the meeting. Okay, welcome to the meeting. It's not nonsensical. When it started, it used to be nonsensical, but even right now, the text is not great. So if you are ever like if you want to make something that has text on top of it, I would recommend that like you take it into a you generate the blank image and you take it into something like a Canva or a Photoshop and just write the text on top of it. It would give you far more control. um Another thing it can't do is composition. So like it doesn't know the placement of different objects with each other. um so like, okay, and apple on top of a banana, under a dragon fruit, beside an orange. Now I know that that would be hard for an human to understand as well. Well, it is hard for Midjourney to understand also. Like, I just want to show this because it's important to know, okay, what can this thing do and what can't it do. So it can make pretty images in lots of different styles, can't really write very well, and can't really control composition very well. um, and it can't do big counting very well. So like when I say 3 cats, it does okay. I think around 10 it does okay. But like when I said 17 cats, then it was just like, well, I don't know what you mean, that's just many. So like that would be what I would say, the, like few things that Midjourney can't do. um okay, so now let's try out Midjourney. uh, Okay, so we will do. I had 3 prompts that I thought that like we can try start with: an old lady, a house on a beach, and happiness. Uh, Sorry. Okay, so this is Midjourney's online interface. If you click here, this is their opening page, which is Explore. Like I said, it's a grid of objects. Excuse me. When you go on Create, this is my creation. Um, there is this box in the top which says, what will you imagine? So let's say I'll imagine an old lady, um happiness, and what was the third one?
House on the beach.
Ah, correct. And this is that. So every time you generate, it takes some time. Mostly Midjourney generations take between 30 seconds to a minute to generate. Um like And because I haven't given too many details, like it would be very sort of like broad in its styling. So there's like, if you see here, there is an old lady photograph and there's also a painting here. Happiness is a little bit delirious. Well, that's good for them. um so you, like now, if you see, every time I hover over anything, there is a lot of options that are showing up. We will go through all of them, but basically the simplest thing is you write something here, Midjourney will generate that thing for you. Like Totally, this is the simplest thing. Um, okay. So now if we start sort of like adjusting certain things, first of all, if I hover over anything, like let's say house on the beach, I will get these three options. So there is rerun, there is use, there is hide, and there is more. We'll worry about the more later.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Divya, the font is really small. Maybe the browser can be
Yeah,
increased,
sure, sure.
zoomed in.
Is this okay?
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. So you can see there's rerun, which would run this exact prompt. So if I click on this, it'll automatically start a new generation. If I use this prompt, it will show me the prompt over there. Um, and hide is quite self-explanatory. Um, if you press here, it will open up this box which tells you like a bunch of different details on what you can control about your image. So like let's first start with the image size. This slider on the right hand side goes towards landscape and on the left hand side goes towards portrait. You can choose whatever size. By default it makes a square images 1:1 ratio. You can make it like, let's say I did 3:4. You can also, while it doesn't look like that, you can also click here and edit these numbers. So like, let's say I did 3.5. Oh wow, that went 35. If I did 6:4, it'll automatically adjust the block, like the slider over there, but it'll also send this aspect ratio. um, there is two modes, so standard and raw. Standard is it'll apply Midjourney stylization to the image. Midjourney has a very specific style, like like once you get used to seeing images generated by AI, you'll realize that, oh, this is made by Midjourney. If you do raw, you will have less of that effect. That's the difference. I don't have personalize on right now, but personalize is something that Midjourney does. If you tell it what exactly do you like to do. So I'll show you guys how that works. So if you click here on the tasks, there is this thing called rank images. When you rank images, you will choose, okay, which one do I prefer? Okay, maybe I prefer this one. Maybe I prefer this one. Sorry, please wait until the images are loaded. Once I've done 200 of these, Midjourney will have an idea of what is my style and what is my aesthetic. And if I have that, like I can personalize it. So like slowly as I go along, journey between these different things, the more Midjourney will understand. Sure, we can generate pretty images, but what is your type of pretty? So by default, it generates Midjourney's type of pretty, which is like what the community thinks looks good. And like, here you can sort of slowly modify. They also give you fast stars, but it's not, yeah, it's not very easy. You don't need to grind it out. Right. So now here, it, okay, these are the two different prompts generated. And if you see, because like the prompt was not very specific, the style, the shape of the house, the like, what is the medium, all of those things are really varied between both of these. um and if you okay, so like that was mode personalized. If you see version, there are multiple versions. 6.1 is a new one, but I'm using 6 by default. um there are many older versions. Older versions tend to be less precise, less good output, quote unquote, but sometimes it can just be nice to sort of try something out. It's experimental. um, and there is this other model called Niji, which is an anime style model. So if I do, let's say, Niji 6, I will remove this dash dash v6. All commands on like Midjourney will go by two dash dash, and then like whatever is the command in front. As we go into more advanced things, you'll see what that means. Yeah, so if I just go a house on the beach in Niji style, um, and like if you see, I had put the aspect ratio as 6:4. So like now the aspect ratio has also changed. Um, and these are the details that also come here. So it's like, okay, the aspect ratio is like 3:2, and the model version is Niji 6. In the older one, if you see, the model version is like Midjourney version 6. um and we shall wait. And so now if you see, it is a lot more anime-esque. It's more painterly, it's more like, it's just drawn rather than it being something which had like more photographic or more like, artistic styling to it. It is more animated, cel shaded, that kind of style. So yeah, Niji is good if you want like that specific style. Many people do. Okay, so back to this. I've already mentioned these things. Now we come to this aesthetics slider. So there are three different aesthetics: stylization, weirdness, and variety. So stylization is again that point of like, how strongly is Midjourney's style applied to this thing. So if you see, when you have by default, Midjourney keeps a stylization 100. So by at S10, it's not a particularly pretty image. By S1000, it's like an obnoxiously like, oh, lighting is so good and the colors are so nice. You can sort of play around with these numbers. Basically, like, as you control this slider, the stylization value will alter, and by that it'll Midjourney will understand, okay, how much style do I need to give. The same thing is true, by the way, when you do personalization. As you like shift the slider around, it will sort of like adjust how strongly do you want the aesthetic to be applied. um then you have weirdness. So by default, like let's say if I tell you there is a portrait of a person, you would have a certain composition in mind, right? What weirdness does is it like sort of shifts away from those compositions. So there is like, okay, what is expected and what is unexpected. Like as you increase the weirdness slider, it's gonna go more and more into unexpected territory. um so if you see, I said, oh, sorry. This was a child's drawing of a house with family in front. I'm sorry, the prompt is wrong. But yeah, if you see this, okay, this is like a very conventional. Yeah, the child sort of drew everything in. This is still like a house. There is a family in the front, but this is slightly like weirder, darker. And now this at weird 3000 is not a composition that like a child would have drawn. Like, sure, it has the same aesthetic, but like these like decrepit trees and like a long tall house and all of that, that's not what a child would draw. um if you compare the weird 0 to weird 3000, like yeah, the weird 0 is the one that a child would have drawn. Even if this is in the same style, this is not what you would normally see in a child's drawing. And you can change a lot of like outputs that way. So like let's say if you want to like do two people drawing it, actually let's try that. Maybe two people uh having lunch on their porch, and let's run with zero weirdness, and not in Niji mode. Do this, and let's do, I will do reuse this prompt, and we'll do weirdness 3000, and let's run it. And let's just see like what the difference between two prompts is. And a lot of it is also, I also honestly wouldn't know what the quote unquote composition is gonna turn out to be, what the elements are gonna turn out to be. um but yeah, so like if you see here, it's like, yeah, two people having lunch on their porch. It's very very like similar. Okay, yeah, there are some greens, there is a table, there are people sitting. Here, yeah, sure, this one and this one are still more common, but like this and this are unconventional. Like this is having porch on the main street or something, a very unconventional sort of design. And even here, if you see, these are not as green and like as what you would say aesthetically appealing, but it is trying to be different from whatever you might conventionally think it is. uh, yeah. And the last one is variety. Variety determines how different all of the four generations are from each other. So if you see this one, these are actually all pretty similar. The composition is kind of like, yeah, it is from the side, like all of those are similar. here, if you see, this was a prompt of like an app banana on top of an apple. And if you see here, the chaos 100 prompt is so weird. It's a so, like, all of those images are like, okay, what the hell is happening? Which is like, I just wanted to depict how different the zero chaos versus the 100 chaos thing is like. But basically this is like all four are different interpretations of like whatever this quote unquote could mean. So all three of these things, stylization, weirdness, and variety, they control the output. They are interlinked, but you can just sort of like, play around with these sliders when you are generating anything and see, okay, I want something to look different from whatever I've thought it can look like. So I will maybe like, increase the variety, or maybe I'll increase the weirdness. um, and like, a side thing is you can also prompt with emojis. So here I just gave it some random emojis and it generated these women with birds. I don't know what is happening with the birds. Maybe the heart is the bird, who knows. But yeah, like, I generated some stuff with emojis, and then I generated music and skull and a frog and like, ballerina and whatever. And this is what it generated, some like mariachi band, like, skull person. I don't know what is happening. But again, like, this is also one of those things where it's like, if you say happiness, I don't know what's gonna come out. If you prompt with emojis, I don't know what is gonna come out. uh I'll answer the questions later. And if I use this prompt in Niji mode, like a girl swinging on a tree, you can see that, like, it has that like very soft anime aesthetic. um okay. So that was sort of like Midjourney specific. This is, oh my God, we'll have to really rush through it. Okay, so this is a crash course on prompting, like prompting itself. Um, so these are the main things that I think about when I am thinking about writing a prompt. So the first thing is scene. So defining what is happening, right? So there's like, oh, a girl swinging on a tree, on a swing in a tree. This is what the drawing is, right? Like, okay, whatever. It did some interpretation. Now, like, if I define adjectives about each of the subjects, or like each of the sort of like, proper nouns, it would actually give more detailed generation. So like a little girl swinging on a beautiful swing in a giant tree. Beautiful didn't really do much for this prompt, but it did make it so that, like, the swing was, Midjourney was trying to make the swing into like, it has some ornate features. Um, but it always made the girl a child, and it always made sure that I can see that the tree is giant, right? So like here, I can't see the tree here. I can see the tree here. This is also small tree, but here, like, now it is very clear that all of the trees are big. Um, then the first thing, like I said, you define the scene. Now we take this first, like, a little girl swinging on a beautiful swing in the giant tree, and I just add on top of it what is the medium. So there could be an oil painting, or there could be a distressed photo. And you can see how the outputs are different. In the first one, it really is painterly, and in the second one, it is a photograph. Can everybody see the differences? Okay. Next, if you define what the environment is, so like, I told about the subject, what is the scene that is happening. I said, okay, this is the medium. Now I've chosen oil painting, and I've added in an autumn forest or in a busy city. And you can see, like, the colors and the sort of artisticness of the image in the autumn one versus in the city one. And you can see how how Midjourney has tried to keep all of the elements that I mentioned. So you start with the scene, you give it some medium. You don't have to do it in this order, but I'm just explaining it in this order. But you start with, like, describing whatever is your scene, in what medium do you want to convey this thing, um, and what is, like, what is the location that this is taking place in. The next thing that you might want to think about is, like, what are the color palettes that I want. Do I want it to be like, so for example, here I've said, okay, blue, pink, and purple. That gave a very specific kind of output. And then when I said pastel shades, it made all of the colors a lot softer, a lot, like, smoother. um, Again, a lot of these things would be easier if you knew how to talk about the thing. um Now there is, after, like, you have colors and some of these things overlap with each other, but like after you have color you can also think about what is the mood that I'm trying to convey. um so I kept the pastel shades one, and I did two different moods for it. So there's like celebratory and melancholic, and you can see in the melancholic one there are generations which tend to be more on the duller side, and in the celebratory one they are more on the sharper colored side. um and you will find that, like, when you're generating, so like, a house with a happy lighting, happy family, that kind of thing, um it would be much nicer than like, oh, a house with a family, because like now Midjourney knows that, like, okay, this is the sort of thing that you're trying to do. Midjourney doesn't really care about your sentence structure. It just cares about like getting the tokens, is how you would say it. But like, it just get it, like, it has some concepts that it understands. So like it understands what an oil painting means, it understands what pastel means, and like it just needs to have those keywords. So it's like, a little girl is swinging on a beautiful swing, the tree is located in a busy city. Like, you don't need to actually write out a whole sentence. um and so I kept the celebratory and joyful, and I did two different lightings for it. So one was soft night light. So it still maintained the brighter colors, but it gave it a night feeling. And another was in golden hour. Golden hour is around 4 p.m., 5 p.m. When you get like, really beautiful sun rays. And you can see all of the girls are like lit very nicely with the golden hour lighting. um, Again, all of these things important that you know how to talk to Midjourney about it. And then the last thing you can think about is second last thing, last thing second last thing you can think about is the style. So here I told it to do impressionistic palette knife work. So this is like the work of Monet and stuff, and you can see that there are palette knife strokes here. And here I said children's book illustration, so it is like a lot more softer drawn, watercolor-ish painted. Despite the fact that I've already said oil painting, actually like specifying more specifics about the style is also helpful. um, and the last thing is, if you know what exactly like lens you want, so like, maybe you want isometric perspective, or maybe you want like some specific like fisheye, like I said, fisheye lens. Midjourney is also able to generate those. um, Now, if you feel like, okay, how am I gonna know all of these things? So this is a good resource called midlibrary.io. Midlibrary is really interesting because they have a lot of like, so they have many styles and like what Midjourney understands, and like, a lot of these names. So like people who are trained in the visual arts, they would not find it particularly hard. Like I can say, okay, I know what the difference in um, oil painting versus like watercolor versus gouache would be in output. But like, somebody who like isn't trained in painting or doesn't know this stuff might not even know gouache is a medium. Which make like, which makes it easier when you use mid library. They also tell you like the style reference you can also use, but I don't like to always use it. But like you can also use particular artists. So like if you choose a bunch of artists from a particular era or a particular style, Midjourney would find it easy to sort of like, generate or replicate their style. But yeah, mid library is actually a great resource. There's also a new thing called style reference. I didn't feel like, we're already running out of time. I didn't feel like there was time to sort of
Don't stress, Divya. Just do whatever you want. We can take questions 5 minutes in as well.
no, I think that like we'll take questions now, and I'll show the demo, like another advanced demo later.
Okay, okay. So there are already some questions that came up in the chat. The
Yeah.
first one by Supriya Bhavalka is, when do you use weird effectively?
Um, By trying, like very honestly, a lot of the questions of how do I do this, how do I do that, a lot of generation by Midjourney is not predictable. So you just have to experiment with things. So like let's say you want to do something where you want the attention, like just from a composition point of view, if you want the attention into some particular aspects of the image, you can use weird, and you can experiment with that. If you feel like, oh, this image is just going to be a background, I don't want attention drawn to it, or like, I have a very specific idea of how this needs to look like, then don't use weird. That's how I would sort of like, differentiate. Are there other
Yeah.
questions?
So Induleka Aravind has asked, couldn't help but notice the people breakfasting were all white. What can we do for more diverse images?
Apart from removing colonial history, not a lot. I mean, like very honestly, jokes aside, you can like you can specify a brown person, a black person, like a person of Asian ethnicity. This. There is no API for Midjourney. No, the images cannot be. Images do not get patented. Processes get patented. These images cannot be copyrighted. Also, uh, sorry, I'm just like quickly answering the stuff that is coming. Yeah, you can indicate the race in the prompt. You can also mention that, like, oh, four friends are having lunch. One of them is of like South Asian descent, and one person is black, and one person is Moroccan. And like, you can actually mention that. Um, how do you keep character consistency after the Q&A if you stay? It's not very easy, like it's not very consistent, but like there is a new stuff that Midjourney has done that makes it possible. um okay,
Cool.
were there other questions
Uh,
in options? Yeah, specific part of image changing, yes. Again, afterwards, that was the quote unquote advanced prompt. uh
any other questions, guys? You can raise your hand as well. It doesn't have to go in the chat box because now we have opened up our Q&A session.
can these, yeah.
Kranti.
Hi, thank you for the session. So yeah, I haven't seen you discussing about using Python APIs or any APIs basically in a program. So is it possible like Midjourney APIs are
Midjourney
open?
doesn't have API. No, Midjourney doesn't have API. If you want to use
Mm.
API, you will have to use Stable Diffusion, or you will have to use like I think there are some other tools that apply use API. I'm not sure if you can use a GPT, but like Midjourney doesn't let you do API. DALI has an API,
Dali
as
has,
Ambika
but
mentioned.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Dali
Midjourney
has.
doesn't have an API.
Okay. Okay, fine. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, Kritika.
Hi, Divya. First of all, thanks so much for this session because I had just started experimenting a little with Midjourney, but I think the prompts that you took us through and how to prompt, I think that's a really great start for me. So I just wanted to confirm that the images that we're generating, we can use it for commercial purposes, right? Like in a book or anything that we're developing, we are free to use it, right?
All of the
Yeah.
copyright stuff is very murky right now. Honestly, like the lawmakers don't know, and people don't know what is gonna sort of like, be right. Because, so
Mm-hmm.
here's the thing, like copyright depends on authorship, and like who will assign what authorship to an image that is generated. So does prompting count as authorship? If you edit some particular part, like let's say you take something from Midjourney and you put it in Photoshop, you edit like some small things in
Mm-hmm.
it, and like, will that count?
Yeah.
So like honestly, all of this is like legal murky area right now, and nobody knows.
Yeah.
Some months ago, or rather late last year, Steam, which is one of the biggest places for you to sell games, Steam had said that like you can't use AI generated content in your game. We will not let you put your game on. And then like they have changed that policy because they're like, okay, if it's live generated, we can't do it, or some stuff like that. So like all of the, like everywhere you would use it, all the lawmakers, policymakers, they are also trying to understand and figure it out. So anybody who gives you a confirmed answer on like, is it legal, is it not legal, um they're lying to you basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh
I think what I've realized best to do in this situation is to give a disclaimer that it has been AI generated,
Mm-hmm.
and that
yeah,
I think keeps you on the clear in case future legal situations come up.
Right.
yeah. And also like a lot of platforms are saying that like, Oh, this is AI generated content. So they are like, okay, now it's the author's own, like, problem. It's not our problem. So if you see in Instagram, it tells you that you have to, like, mark AI generated content if you are sharing anything that is AI generated and stuff like that. So yeah, like everybody is trying
Mhm.
to hedge their bets
Correct,
legally,
correct.
but there is no clear answer right now. You can use it. How useful would, like, how much you would get into trouble? I don't know. If you're going to get into trouble, there are entire
Yeah,
companies.
it depends on
But if
how much risk you want to take.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to come for an individual first. Like Divya said, there's just too many companies who are using it.
Yeah,
yeah,
got it, got it. Thanks, guys.
Any more
um
questions, guys, before we continue to the advanced prompt? Okay, I
okay,
guess we can
great.
go. You got your wish.
Or maybe everybody's like, oh my god, I want to be seeing the advanced prompts also.
Yeah, yeah. So they're keeping all the questions to themselves.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Please, Harshita.
Hi, thank you. This was really interesting. I just wanted to ask, like, what bits of Midjourney are like accessible for? Is there like a free version or like it's all paid for?
They recently released a free version. I also don't have details. Neha, if you do, I
Yes,
didn't read. Yeah.
Harshita is 25 images free for the next couple of months, but it's a temporary trial that they have provided to showcase their web version. So they're going to close it in a few months. If you are part of the AIEC group, I have actually shared the full article on there. Otherwise, you can just ping me and I'll share the details with you.
Um, yeah, yeah, Karishma.
Hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, I think there's a question from Ambika where she said instead of race, you can also try names like Ambika versus Alice, Alice Wong, etc. So I don't
Actually, Ambika might be better at that because so like she does a lot of work on like inclusivity, and she has like a lot of she's done a lot of stuff in like generating images. Oh, yeah. Generating images for different races and like inclusivity. And she has a Indian mother series that she also does. So like, she, if she's saying that that name thing works, then you should definitely listen to her.
okay, sorry, I misread it as a question then. Thanks, Ambika, and thank you, Divya.
Yeah, I'm trying to get Ambika to do our one of our next talks. So maybe this could be a very interesting topic, Ambika, if that's what you specialize in.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. Okay. So let's start with slightly more advanced prompting. So if you see here, there is this like tiny photo icon. One might think that like, oh, it's maybe because like this is how you generate images. No, but if you click it, you can actually choose like images to add here, and you can do something called image prompting, right? So you can do a bunch of different things. You can blend images, you can like use a style from a particular image. So like let's say that I like this particular style a lot. I don't know what that style is, but like let's say I like that style a lot. I added that. There are three icons. So first one, which looks like a character, will be character reference. This one, which looks like a, what do you call it, the pin thingy, that is a style reference, and here is an image reference. um, so let's say if I want to use this as a style reference, right? So I just clicked on the pin button, and I'm gonna say in the same style, but let's say happiness, right? Like the older prompt, and let's see what comes out. While that is generating, maybe I take this character, because like wow, what a face. I just like literally just drag and drop here. I drag this, maybe I use this as a character reference, and I say an old lady cooking food, right? So now there is the old lady image, and I'm going to use that as a style reference. um Now let's see, maybe what I can do is I can also blend two images. So let's say I add this. This is an image reference, and I add this, and this is an image reference. And without a prompt, I just press enter. Um, and now let's see what our things have generated. Oh no. Oh no. Start. Okay, it is starting.
We use
And
Midjourney too much.
um, and here, if you see like the aspect ratio, because it is in the settings right now, like this, it will still show up. So now it has taken certain aspects of that image. So if you see the colors, um, of the blues and the yellows and the reds, so if you see, all of these images have like prominently those color combinations, and because I prompted it with happiness, it used that. um, this is the style reference with that old image, like old lady's image. So you can see that it has that same character, and she's doing something with food. And here I took this composition, and like if you guys see, it was this drawing and this drawing. It's very small, but like there was a happiness balloon, so that balloon is here. And it also used some parts of that other combination of the house with the, so it has like combined and merged both of those concepts together. So these are how you would use image references. Actually, it's really interesting. If you like, if you like, let's say, are there words appearing on the pic? No, not really. I mean, like oh, these, I will talk about those also. Um, if you go into, like, let's say, explore, maybe I like the style of this. I don't know, right? Um, I like this image as an image prompt. And let's say I also want to copy this character. So I can just like hold shift and click this also. So now it has both person and this image composition and colors and all as a reference. And then maybe let's say I want to merge it with, uh let's choose something really weird. I don't know. Let's say, let's choose this. So this is an image reference. Let's see what happens. I don't know what will happen. um in the meantime, I can show you guys something. So when I hover over any image, it shows very subtle and very strong. I can also click on a particular image, um, and you'll get like a lot of options over here. So now you can see the, like, again, the options that I showed, with drag and drop, this image style prompt, you can use those again. um, Now, like, you can use the image, you can use the style, or you can use the prompt, whatever, this old lady cooking food, this prompt, whatever. If I do very subtle, it'll take the same image, do more generations, but like with slight changes. And if I do very strong, it'll take this image and do more generations with, like, broader variety. Now, like, what is happening is, I told Midjourney to generate something. There are 4 images that Midjourney generated. Maybe I like this particular image, but now I want to see variance in this. And this is how you do it. Okay, so I'm gonna do both subtle and strong, and we can see like how much difference there is. uh okay. Well, I guess it didn't really. Oh no, it didn't generate
Could it be because it was twice the woman and the cat image? You're on mute. There's a mute symbol on your there.
Oh, there.
Yeah.
um Okay, yeah. No, it did change it. It just changed it very subtly, because like the composition is very similar for both of the images. So it can't
Okay.
do the style reference. But what I did do is like it made everything a lot lighter and a lot softer and more in a vertical format. So if you
Got it.
see, like, these are the small changes that happened.
Got it.
Just 1 second. Just one moment.
No problem, no problem.
I'm taking the workshop. Give me like 5 minutes. I'll be done and then I'll take. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, let's see what happened with the old lady. So if you see when I did like subtle variation, it's just like very tiny amounts of changes. But if I did like, very strong, the composition is kind of similar, but like, if you just see the differences, there are like, this is a lot more different. Uh, Now let's say, uh, do I like any of these images? I don't know. Let's say I like this image. Um, Now, if you want to change a specific part of the image, you go into here in More. You can go into Editor and you can do some selection and like re-prompting. So, like let's say that I select this part and I can edit the prompt over here. So, and what I can do is like, because I want to keep the rest of the image safe, like, I can change up the prompt just in this portion. So I can like cooking food on a pan with some veggies. And if I submit it, chances are that like when it generates over here, it's going to keep most of the same, but the region that I have selected, it will edit that out. So if you see, it's kept that part the same. And here is a pan with food in it. Ah, so now that is like the slightly more advanced stuff, where basically when you click on any image, you can vary it, giving you different generations, but like still keeping the base similar. You can upscale it. So like whatever the base size is, it can like, double it. Double it? I think it does. Yeah. You can do upscale also subtle and creative. So like the first thing subtle is like, doesn't change. Let's try that.
We are changing the color of the shirt as requested by Ravi on the chat.
I'm just selecting some parts. Old lady cooking food. Old lady wearing a red dress. You can prompt it, but the thing that happens with prompting is like it will change the overall image. Like here also I'm prompting, but what I'm doing is I'm keeping the rest of the pixels same. It's only regenerating this particular part that I have highlighted. Um, Again, like you can change the, like, there are loads of settings. You can change those settings. Um, and here is the lady wearing a red dress. Right? So like the food stays the same, the lady's face stays the same, but now her clothing changes. Yeah. Another thing that you can do is you can actually tell GPT that I want a prompt for this thing. This is the idea in my head. And you can get that prompt here and use Midjourney to generate that. You will still have to refine the prompt because GPT tends to be very verbose with the prompts that it's writing. But like it is still a good way of like, giving yourself a head start. So you just tell GPT, I'm thinking about like, this thing. And it'll like, create some options. So you ask it to create some options. So that's one way of doing it. Another really cool thing is like, okay, and old lady cooking food in a pan. And now, if you do curly brackets, it will generate multiple, like you can run multiple prompts. So, an old lady cooking food in a pan, I'm gonna just make it, by the way, one by one again, so that it's easier to see all four options together. And let's say wearing a wearing a red, blue, purple dress. So now it's going to generate three prompts. One is an old lady cooking food in a pan wearing a red dress, a blue dress, a purple dress. So it's basically whatever you put in those curly brackets, it can do multiples of those. You can also do the, oh no, the weird is still 3000. It's gonna, okay. I'm sorry for the outputs. Uh, but you can also do like, so if you do in bracket, let's say if I do use prompt, right? So here you have weird 3000. You could also do brackets, and you can do weird 10, weird 100, weird 3000. Like you can even do that in curly brackets. So like the command options also, you can do the regular, like, your whatever text prompting is also you can do. Is there anything else? Oh yeah, there's one more thing which is like no prompt. It's hard to do it, but let me just try something. But hey, this is the easiest thing I think. No, that might be hard actually. Um, beach, beach house, and I can say no trees. So if you see, this lady is wearing a red dress, this one is wearing a blue dress, and this one is wearing a purple dress. Oh, who was the person who said that like Indians don't show up? Here is an Indian lady wearing the sari by default. um, so if you see, like what I did was dash dash no, and then I added something on top, like in front of it. So now it has generated a house, and you can tell that there are no trees inside. Okay, so that sort of takes care of almost everything that we could discuss in like an hour. uh, and does anybody have any more questions?
Nice, Anambika. Guys, it is 12:07. So if you have any questions, now is a good time to
Yeah.
ask Divya.
Yeah. Hello, Ambika.
Hi, thanks, Divya. Very great presentation. I wanted to know in this when you do that little painted part and change it, can you do a negative prompt there also, like the no thing?
I've actually not tried. We can try something. Um, so let's see. What would I tell it? I don't know.
Maybe in the house you can remove a window or something.
Mm.
No chimney.
Mm. There was one more person who asked a question.
Kuncha. Yeah.
Yeah, Midjourney has outpainting. If you click on something, there's a reframe option. Yeah. If you do this, so
Zoom out, right?
yeah, if I did in the editor, whatever, like I can change the proportions. I can change
Wow.
the scale. And here you can like manually shift it also. So like let's say I submit it. And we'll see. Okay, yeah. So that worked.
No chimney worked.
Yeah, no chimney worked.
Thank you.
Guncha,
And
you had a question?
Right, Neha. So, Divya, thank you so much for these variations. I wanted to dial back to, the initial introduction you had where you were talking about, different types of tools apart from Journey. So, now that we've learned all these things, can we talk about what would be different if we were to use one of the other visual tools?
so like in stable diffusion, so for example, the way I talked about how to construct the prompt, that stays that way. Like, sure, there might be minor variations, but like if you think about all of those different things, you will get like reasonably good results in all of the visual tools. The specifics of like how you would do varying, or like how you would do like this kind of stuff, like, oh, this is how you use the prompt, this weirdness, stylization, character, like all of those things are, excuse me, they are more mid-journey focused. So like there are anything that is more tool specific is like whatever is on the interface and like how I'm specifically using it. What we are writing here in terms of prompt, that carries over. But all of the tools, so like what we the person who asked, does Midjourney support outpainting, asked it like does Midjourney support outpainting? So outpainting is like you take, this is the basic thing, and like this is what the outpainting results are. Right? So like whatever we had, this was what we had, and like Midjourney just sort of created multiple variations of what could be if you zoomed out of it. Outpainting is also another feature that Photoshop does. Oh, Photoshop was one of those tools that I didn't mention in my list, but Photoshop also has AI in it. Better for editing, not for plain old generation. Like, it's horrible at generation in my experience. And in painting is what we did, where we selected a particular part. So like almost all of the tools, well, not DALI, but like the other tools, they support in painting and outpainting. But there's just like how you get to those options is a little different. Neha, you're muted.
Archana has a question about where do you use these images, and who uses them in general.
So I particularly use them as backgrounds in like some of my visual work. We're using them, some of them as DMPs, like digital matte paintings, in one of the movie projects that we're doing. And of course, use that for concept art. Of course, use it for like just communicating quickly what the output could look like, sort of like building a style library of sorts. A lot of it is just like aiding the, at least the way I use it, it's aiding the art direction process. I have tried, yes. I've made some like a series of videos for like poetry of one of my friends. Like, we collaborated on this project together. So I have done that. Not anything which is like super detailed or super like massive, because like, I'll be honest, it's, if you know how to animate, it's faster to animate, but it's hard to learn how to animate, which is where
Yeah.
like these tools come in.
Yeah.
So like, but I have people around me who know how to animate and do it quite well. So it's just always easier to use it. Just like if I'm still like when I'm quickly trying to brainstorm, I'm still sketching and making thumbnails, because it is way faster for me to do that than to do generations. But like sometimes when I want to see what the polished thing is gonna look like, or what 5 different styles are gonna look like, there are places that AI art has found within like my workflow, but it's not like it has overtaken all of the visual work.
I think
Yeah.
Guncha has another question.
Yes.
Divya, I'm also wondering, like, if for many of us we don't have the art context, so we don't really use it in those situations. So using these kind of images on LinkedIn, etc., is there any difference or any improvement in engagement that you know of that people use these? Because
I
if
mean,
LinkedIn
I
is
think
supporting
I think
images,
just the image doesn't do. So like, I do use generations for like our podcast, like I have a podcast, so like for the podcast
right?
covers every other week, like I'm not making those images. Like, it's easier to use something that is generated. But like, it's just, how should I put it? Like, sometimes it's easier and faster to just do that, but I haven't particularly myself noticed differences in engagement one way or the other, because at least for me, engagement comes more from like a lot of the context. So like, what are people expecting from you, what are you talking about, rather than just the image. And image is just like a very small part of the overall thing. So like, at least I haven't noticed any difference in like whatever I have made versus whatever is AI generated. I also, like, without the thought generating and posting images, like this sort of like dies down. Canva has, does that answer your question, Mucha?
Yeah, thanks, Divya. That definitely helps.
Yeah.
I I think just to
Canva
add
is,
in here, sorry,
yeah.
sorry. What you were talking about, I've realized that when you have something very set in your mind, like this is what I need, it's not great to use these generations because they are like very imaginative and it's not obviously not going to understand what you want. But if you want something very generic and you're like, if I'm making a presentation, I just want like a group of people in an office setting or things like that, where I don't care too much about how they're sitting in the office, then I tend to use these image generations rather than buying stock images.
Hmm. I would say that, like, wherever you feel like, I don't need to, like, the final production quality doesn't really matter. That is when, like, these images are, or rather, production accuracy doesn't matter. These images are
Yeah,
useful. Otherwise, you would need to, like, do some editing or do some work on top of it, which makes it so that, like, it's not a lot faster. It's the same as, like, if you're generating code with AI. Sure, it makes things faster, but it doesn't remove the need for you to know how to code. Or, like, for you to go over the code and, like, structure it
exactly.
properly and stuff like that. It's
Yeah,
the same thing.
yeah, yeah. And I think Gunsha was also asking if you've tried Canva's AI generation tools.
I haven't. Some friends of mine have. The output is not bad, not great, is how I
I
would put it.
think
Like,
Midjourney is still leading, right?
actually, Flux's output is quite good. I
Okay.
haven't had a chance to try it yet because, like, you need to host it and all of that,
Yeah,
or you
yeah.
need to run it on Replicate. But I haven't had a chance to try Flux. But apparently, Flux's output is great. But yeah, Midjourney is really, really good.
The
Yeah.
Ambika C
Okay.
plus is better.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
because it's doing text also, I
Uh,
think.
I think Midjourney was also one of the OG tools which started all of it.
Right.
yeah.
So again, that loyalty or probably that cult is also there who are attached to it.
Also,
It's what.
Midjourney gives you options a lot, right? Like I'm not sure about Flux, but I feel like Midjourney has so many tools and options to play around with.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's very creator focused. Flux, who's going to sit and host it? Like, I just tested it once or twice on Hugging Face one, but
Yeah.
I don't have any interface to try it, without paying somebody a lot of money. So,
Yeah.
Midjourney
I
is
think
Um.
one benefit that I found with Canva was, in addition to image, it has the video and audio generation capabilities as well. So I think that putting in one
Oh,
circle, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think, heck, you can just, for all of these other tools, whoever, yeah, Pujitha, dude, API, just Google it. Like, it's a software term. I'm the wrong person to
Pushita,
answer that
yeah, that's a
question.
big question. Yeah, I think it's like application programmers interface, if I'm right. Is that what
yeah.
the full form was? Yeah, Pushita, it's a very loaded question. It just basically allows you to programmatically access certain things. That's essentially what it is. So right now you're using Midjourney in a user interface, whereas if you want to use it in your own program, obviously you're not going to use the user interface. You want your own interface, and the API allows you to connect to that. That's is to put it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
um, Sorry guys,
Okay.
I'm gonna just give a time warning here. It is 12:20 nearly.
Yeah.
So I
I
don't
also have
want
to
to
skip.
hold anyone up. So last couple of questions
Oh,
possibly
yeah.
before.
Guncha, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So, Divya, this was a follow-up question to the Canva thing. I'm asking in the context of, some of us are creating our website or other assets in Canva and other tools already. So, is there any difference between creating and getting to the output quality over there, or how easy
I
is it
think
to export from here
I
and
think
bring it over?
Canva is not as advanced, but yeah, you can just export anything from here and take it over there.
And it would be too much to expect that, I take something from here and then Canva I can edit a little bit further on Canva.
I am not sure. I haven't worked. See, like, again, there is another thing, right? Like, because I have known and worked with visual stuff for like many years, I wouldn't use this. So, like, when I do the same changing thing, I would take it through Photoshop and, like, I would select some part and, like, then I
Right.
would edit it out. Then Firefly is like good at that kind of stuff. Um, but I don't know how good or strong the Canva sort of AI is.
So,
Again, like, there are so many tools,
right.
can't keep up with.
Thank you so much.
Okay, guys, last question. Last question. Okay, no one's taking that bait. Cool. So, firstly, thank you so much, Divya, for taking the time out to do this workshop for us, and I hope you feel better. and you don't get sicker. And it's very nice of you to still come and do this, even though you're feeling a bit unwell. So get well soon. And I really appreciate, this whole session. And we'll continue the conversations on the AIEC group or whatever. And I know there's so many more ideas we can have with sort of Midjourney and now with Flux and everything. So I know there's going to be a lot of requests soon for more discussions and talks. But yes, thank you so much. And thank you everyone else for attending too. I know it's a weekend, so I really appreciate everyone joining in and giving us this time for the interesting, questions and conversations. I hope it was useful for everyone. And please do share the feedback with me so I can share it with Divya or with her,
Yeah.
whatever is convenient, because it helps us, do better workshops in the future and sort of, understand what you guys want to see and hear and learn about. So thank you. Have a good weekend. And I will share the details of this talk via
Yeah,
the emails.
I will share the PDF with you. You can
Yeah.
sort of like forward it to everybody. Thanks a lot, everyone, for coming. Thanks, Neha, for having me. This was like super
Of
fun.
course. Yeah.
And like really good questions also, everybody. I would just say, like, if there are 25 free credits, just like, sign up with as many accounts you have and like, just test it out. Try out a bunch of different things. And like a lot of like with most AI tools, I would say, just try things out. Do not be afraid to sort of quote unquote waste your credits, because without trying it out, you wouldn't actually understand how to make it work. So yeah.
And it's quite reasonably priced as well. The lowest model allows over 200 images a month. And, I think it's around 800, 900 rupees, if I'm correct. And it's even lesser if you subscribe for the year. It's $5 per month for the whole year if you pay for the year, which is surprisingly not that bad considering what you can achieve with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And also like you can host, like you just search on YouTube and like how to host Stable Diffusion, or like use Run Diffusion if you don't feel like there is some paid stuff that you need to do, but like it's just really fun to try out a lot of these things.
Maybe that's what our next workshop can be, hosting your own Stable Diffusion model.
Ambika would be a great person for that.
Okay,
No,
Ambika.
no, don't do that. That's wasting your time. You want to be a creative or you want to be a tech?
Yeah. I think for Ambika, we'll have to do GUI as well, because I would love to showcase the work she's doing on that. So cool. Okay, guys, thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thanks a lot, everybody. I hope you guys
Thanks,
have fun.
everyone. Bye.
Loved it.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.